Tyler,
Yes?
aren't you going to Belfast tomorrow?
Oh, yes, I am. Why are you smirking?
I've had a little thought. What's the best way to get from Dublin to Belfast and back?
Well, there's a couple of bus companies that do the route, but there's also a train service.
I may have an idea.
Ooh.
Well, here we are at Belfast Grand Central Station. Right, Irish edition of train versus coach. Belfast to Dublin. Shall we? Right, I'm now a 10-minute walk from Belfast Central Station. I am in Queen Street. And this bus stop here is where the Dublin buses run from. There's a couple of different companies who operate these Belfast Dublin routes. I'm going to be on the Dublin Express. Should be about half-hour wait. I've got another bottle of water because hydration when you're doing these sort of journeys is key. And then I've got a few hours in Dublin and I'm heading back to Belfast on the train. There is one train company by comparison to about 3 or 4 coach companies that do these runs. There are no domestic flights in Ireland between north and south at the moment, so the only way you can fly between Belfast and Dublin is if you were to connect somewhere in England or continental Europe. But here we go, let's do this. So it's 20 minutes till my bus shows up and he's just turned up to do some drop-offs. I think this very much could be my coach down to Dublin in a few minutes. Like I said, there's no domestic flights between Dublin and Belfast. There's one train and then there's these multitude of coaches that run back and forth. So for £15.50, let's see how good that coach is between Belfast and Dublin, then we'll see how the train fares up. So this could be interesting because both, unlike in England, the two services actually weren't too different in price, but I'll discuss it in more detail when I'm on the train. Right, I need to head back over to the other side of the road. Well, that explains why it looks familiar. This is a National Express coach. It's just painted up in a different paint scheme and registered in Ireland, so it's all part of the NX group. So this should make this review pretty straightforward. crossed the border into the Republic of Ireland, and the bus was pulled over for a check, so everyone had to get their IDs or passports out. Luckily, I had the foresight to bring my passport with me, even though I was travelling mainly within the UK. So I was all good. We're on the move again, so next few stops will be in Dublin. I think we're stopping in Dublin Airport before going into the city. Hopefully the traffic will be on our side. It's been about 2 hours or so on the road, and we're just coming up to Dublin Airport, Terminals 1 and Terminal 2. And once the airport drops are done, we're off to the city centre, and that's where the service will terminate. And I've got about an hour or two into the city centre of Dublin. I've got to get to Dublin Connolly Street, and then we're going to put the train against the bus. It's been a long day. Seats, as you can see, are basically the same as on the National Express coach, the newer ones anyway. They do this really nice grey leather. If I turn around, you've got the USB charging ports and a little hand thing here. This has been very comfy. I've had a nice little relaxation with these little wing things, being able to rest my head on it. Not exactly doing it justice, but yeah. Yeah, overall pretty good for £15.99, 16 quid. I'll run through how much the train was a little later. We're just leaving Terminal 2 and we're going to head to Terminal 1 and then off to the city centre. Here we are, city centre of Dublin. Got about 3 hours, so two things are in order. One, get a pint of Guinness, and two, find my way to Dublin Connolly train station, because I've never actually been there before, so it's a complete new one on me. So, like I said, I thought that bus was actually pretty good. It was cheap, there was hardly any issues with traffic. It sounds like that border thing where the police came and checked some of our borders, that's done at random, because normally there isn't a check on these sort of like cross-country things, so maybe they're just doing ones at random every now and then. But yeah, just obviously if you're doing that sort of thing between Belfast and Dublin, if you're British or Irish, bring your passport, your ID card, whatever, because you never know if they're going to do a random stop, and it just saves so much hassle. Right, onwards, I'll catch you later. Well, I found it. Connolly Station, the main train station for Dublin, and this is actually home to the only train service that runs between the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland. You can actually get a train that starts here and terminates in what is now Grand Central Station in Belfast, which used to be, I think it was either Royal Victoria or Lanyon Place, but here we go. Right, I need to get a train ticket because I've got a booking confirmation, but you have to pick up an actual ticket here at Connolly Station, so I'm going to get that formality done, go get a pint of Guinness, and then we shall catch up. How about that? So for those who don't know, Connolly Station is named after James Connolly, who was one of the ringleaders of the 1916 Easter Rising against the British during World War I. Obviously the Easter Rising failed, but the Rising did eventually become the main catalyst at the end of World War I to spur on what would become Ireland's independence from the United Kingdom. Right, so I'm going to be about 40 minutes time for getting on the train. I'm here in plenty of time. This is a dedicated platform just for that Belfast train that runs up and down between North and Southern Ireland. Should be about the same sort of journey time as the coach did. Should get into central Belfast on time for 7 o'clock. I'm just in the waiting room, which is dedicated for those who are doing the Dublin-Belfast train service. And it's a pretty nice waiting area. There's no cafes or bars at all this side, it's all public side. You might be able to get back in, I'm not sure if you've got plenty of time, but just over there are some vending machines. There's one doing coffee, one doing soft drinks. I've got like 1 or 2 snack items left from earlier that I didn't use in case there's no service, but I think there's like a cart that goes up and down, so I might get a cup of tea if there is one, but I'm not sure. So yeah, go about 40 to 30 minutes before the train departs, if it's on time. It's showing on time. And not only is this my first time doing this cross-country train in Ireland, but it's my first time going on a train in the Republic of Ireland, because believe it or not, I've only ever done trains in Northern Ireland. I've never done any of the train links in the South Island. Now, I got my booking thing here, and when I purchased my ticket, the ticket cost me $15.99 in euros, so I'm going to call that about £14.50, which is literally about £1 less than the coach that I booked, and this train's probably going to be just a smidge quicker. I don't think there's really much difference in it, subject to delays obviously, but we shall see. It's due to leave 10 minutes to 5 and get in at it's meant to depart at 4:40 and get in for 7, so it's not too long a ride for cross country. I think there's a couple of stops, like 3 or 4. It should be a good one. We're on board, let's go. Belfast Dublin, Belfast, here we come again. Quite a nice scenic urban departure out of Dublin Conley tonight. So normally these services are done by the Irish Rail Trains. It's kind of like in a partnership with Translink, who does Northern Ireland. But for some reason tonight we've got a Translink train doing the Dublin-Belfast link, which I assume doesn't happen very often, but here we are. It's a nice enough train, seats comfy enough. When it dies off a bit, I'll show you a bit more of the cabin and I'll try and give you a seat guide before I get off at Belfast. In the meantime, while I've got a little bit of daylight left, I'll try and get as much views as I can. Let's go.
Welcome aboard Translink NI railway service to Belfast.
I forgot to mention earlier, this train also has some very good overhead space for your bags. There's mine right here. So we're at the Dundalk station. This is the last stop in the Republic of Ireland. We've got 2 more stops up in Northern Ireland after this. It's a pretty nice station, though I'm on the wrong side to get it. I've got the tracks on my other side. It's not been too bad so far. Kind of wish I had a cup of tea for this journey, but like I said, if it was the Irish Rail Company, we probably would have had a cart up and down by now, but we just don't have that on the Translink ones from Northern Ireland. But that's not problems. Well guys, I spoke too soon. As a wise man once said, Barista, do thy meal. Stop after this, and then it's Belfast.
Aboard Translink NI railway service to Belfast Grand Central. This train calls at Portadown and Belfast Grand Central.
What'd I tell ya? Central, here we come. The next stop, and that's the end of the line. pretty similar to what you get on airlines these days. It's ideal for these journeys and some of the local ones. Back at Belfast Grand Central, that was a pretty good train ride. Right, I'm off to go find my hotel, I'm going to check in, put my feet up, and that is where I will catch up my final thoughts. Stick around. Well, I guess you want the truth and nothing but the truth. Didn't get around to filming it in my hotel at the end of the day, so here I am in my bedroom doing this. So, train versus coach between Dublin and Belfast. Well, oddly enough, the two journeys took roughly about the same time, although I suppose with the train's more likely to be on time, whereas the coach can... I mean, I must have got lucky with the coach, but the coach obviously can be pulled over for random passport checks, ID checks. It can also be held up by traffic, you know, on the roads and the motorways, you know, it's more likely to happen. The price difference, well, I'd say it was about £1. I tell a lie, it's about a £2 difference. The train for standard class came in at about, I think it was £2 cheaper, because it was €15.99 in euro, which comes to about £13.50, and I paid £15.50 for the coach. There's more bus options to get between Belfast and Dublin than there is the train, because the train is literally just that one enterprise route, which is done by Irish Rail and the company that does the Northern Ireland Rail. It's a collaboration between the two, although the Northern Irish Rail Company provided the train on this particular service, although the service was almost identical. I did say I wasn't sure if there was going to be a service, but no, there was. It came through eventually. So, enough of me waffling. It is a tight one. It is a tough one, because they're both pretty good in their own rights. However, I think from a service standpoint, and given the fact that this one potentially doesn't have as much in the terms of delays that could be associated with it, I think I'm going to slightly give the edge over to the train, therefore making this Travel Size Smackdown a train win against the coach. But what do you think? You know, what do you prefer? Train or coach? Feel free to sound off in the comments. I'm being Tyler Jett Force 1 McDowell. You've been watching the Southern Airs. Matt Banjoman Walker joined me at the very start of that video. Safe travels, my friends, and I shall see you in the next one.